Okay. All right. I am being live streamed. Sorry for the weird setup. Notice all the musical terms in the back. I am in the piano lesson room. I don't know, piano lesson room. Yeah. Abby just said, okay, I gotta pause this. Okay. There. My goodness. Okay. Now I am paused. Let me go so I can read the chat on my video. Allow people to join. Okay, there we go. Turn this down. Why am I up and down like that? Hello, Joyce. I don't like that. Can I do is it better to do this way? Here, let me try this. Sorry if I'm making you seasick and dizzy. I don't like that either. And you can see the light. Okay, let me see if that switches. Sorry. I'm just trying some things out here because I have to do this differently. Let's see if that works. Let me see if this switches. Sorry, guys. Oh, it does switch to long ways. Okay, yeah, let's do it that way. And then I think I have to look over there. This is not working very well. It's just a terrible angle. Okay, I think that'll work. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. Let me see. Get a better angle here. Stand at my. Yeah, I'm not using it. My husband has some things to do in his office, so that is why I have to have this set up today. Okay, it's not cooperating with me. Hey, Shara. I just don't want it to be like off kilter the entire time. Oh my goodness, ladies. Okay, we're gonna go with that. Sorry for the unprofessionalism as I start this. Okay, so I think I look here, and when I look there, it looks like I'm kind of looking at you guys. I'm not sure. Okay. Hey, Nicole. Oh my goodness. Okay. So how is your Monday going? Going good? Excuse me while I still mess with this. Going good here. It's just very busy. We got a lot going on. So my husband's in the process of Jason buying this house. So he's got a lot of stuff to do here. So that's why he's over in the office. He kind of needed it. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know if there is any issue at all. Okay. So if you notice on the live chat, Joyce Murphy has the little star. Okay. So that little star basically means that she is a member. So I just started memberships on my channel. If you haven't looked into it or anything. So basically I set it at 99 cents a month or $1.99. I don't even have anything over that because I figured it's a good way. First of all, it was bugging me that I hadn't set my memberships up yet. Now it's set up and it's a good way to support this channel if you believe in this channel and what it promotes and everything. And that will help me cover the website fees. Anything that I get that comes in, I will put aside, and that will cover my blog, my website, and my domain name. So anything that I get will do that. So yeah, there should be a black join button. I think we figured out if your YouTube is connected to a card, then you should be able to join. But if you don't have it connected to anything, it might be a little bit trickier to find. I did pin a link under the short that I did it, but Joyce is a member, which is why you get a little star. And I'm also doing members only live streams 30 minutes before the public ones. And what we're doing is this, did I not bring it in? Oh, here it is. This week, or for the next few weeks, we're going to be going through this book. And I'm going to be putting a link to this in the Gently Led Sisters group. But if you want to get it, it's a very good resource for those of us raising daughters. And there's a lot of good principles. Sons too, the principles would still apply, but this is geared towards girls and geared towards teenage girls. And one thing that I like is that there's journal entries that you can do, that your daughters, as they go through it, like this one's, I've allowed myself to be yoked together with the wrong people. My plan of action to change this is, and then write down, I've fallen into these pitfalls, and this is what I need to do to guard myself against those pitfalls. So this is $14.99 off the Bill Rice Ranch website, but with shipping, I think I paid $21 for it. So it's a little pricey, but if it's a good resource to have, then it's worth it in my opinion. So I'm going to post the link several places if any of you want to get it and follow along. I will be doing one main book review, but I'm going to be going through it with the members only Mondays before our live. So look for the black join button on any of the videos, and that will get you into the perks and stuff that being a member only has. So anyways, oh, look, Rachel's a member. So she has the little blue star. That's what that means. And you can connect your PayPal too, she said. So yeah, so that is all that. I wanted to let everyone know, though, that's watching, that we do have the memberships available now. I've never felt right charging for my content. This is a free channel. I don't want to make money on it. I don't make money on it. I literally pour money into this. I don't make money on this. I've never felt right charging. But if someone wants to willingly support the message of this channel, then, you know, there is the option at a very, very low price, like 99 cents per month. So we spend more than that on a coffee at Starbucks. So if you want to support it, it's there. So anyways, let's get into our outline for today, though. And this is geared towards, this one today is geared towards children 5 and up. So I'm going to say that so much of the foundation is laid before they turn 5. From the time they're toddlers, you're teaching them the importance of obedience, not throwing fits, etc., listening to you. I find that by the time my kids reach the age of 5, most fits have ceased. They do happen sometimes. Most fits have ceased, though. And you can reason a lot better. With kids 5 and up, you can reason a lot better with them. Kelly is like a full-on adult when you're having a conversation with her. Anyone that knows Kelly knows that she's very fluent and very advanced in her communication. So you can definitely reason with her. She does still throw fits sometimes, but with her, she was a different case. She was one of my ones that would throw like raging, screaming fits, and we had to find a couple different things to do with her. And Hannah's quite different from her. Hannah has a very different personality. And so we've had to find different things that have worked for Hannah. But most of Hannah's fits have ceased. The only time that she will have one anymore is if she is completely overtired. And a lot of times I on all honesty, blame myself because I let it get to that point. Maybe I just didn't get around to putting her to bed or whatever. And she has a meltdown, and that's partially my fault for letting her get overtired. So, but 5 is the age I start kindergarten. And I also believe the first few years are very important for laying a good foundation when it comes to their attitude about school, learning, reading, writing, etc. So let's just get into how I approach school from the get-go. Okay, so, and I look very fuzzy today, guys. Sorry, I probably need to clean my camera thing, but you're just going to have to deal with fuzziness and not very good sound quality. Sorry about that. So how do I approach school? Well, first off, I'm flexible when needed, but school is a definite priority. My kids know school will be done. We will be doing school. And they get off for their birthdays. We will take off here and there, like if my husband schedules a field trip or we have a special meeting. But birthdays, they always get off. There's not even a question. They know they get off for their birthday. But we just do school. You know, school is a must. I'm very structured in the fact that I teach piano. And so I have to be structured because everything has to ebb and flow in our home. And so they have to be starting school by a certain time of day. So by 9 o'clock, they're in school, they're doing school. So that's just a given. My kids know what to expect. What do I start my kindergartners in? So I am going to be starting Kelly this fall. I did wait until she's going to be closer to 6. She turned 5 this past January, so she'll be only like 5 months, 4 months away from being 5 when we start her. But I found with my kids, the ones that I started earlier, it was really a struggle and it was unnecessary. I shouldn't have started them so early. So I've learned from my mistakes. And then too, my 3 oldest graduated when they were 17. And if I had to do it over again, I would start them later, which is why I've started Chloe and down later. So Kelly will be closer to 6 by the time I start her. She is incredibly smart, incredibly bright. I'm not worried at all, though. I think she'll catch on very, very quickly. So what I do, I have a basic program that I follow, I guess. Now, I don't have very many in school right now. I only have Chloe, Allie, and Lana. And so Chloe will be a senior this year. And then she'll be graduated. And then once again, I'll only have 3 in school. So at the most, I will only have 4 now in school. I think there was a time I had 5, but I will only have 4. So I am going to, and we're a little bit better off financially now than we were when the kids were real small. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to start Kelly in a Becca Video School. I love a Becca Video School. It's great in the beginning years because it really lays a good foundation, first off of reading, but secondly, with their handwriting, and they teach cursive right off the bat, which I absolutely love. So Kelly will be learning cursive this fall, which I think is great. Now they are a bit more accelerated, which is fine with me. And I think she'll be able to keep up. So go off the needs of your child. There are children with lower IQs than others. There are children that are more book smart, and there's children that are more street smart, if you want to call it that. I mean, our kids aren't really street smart, but you know what I mean. One kid might lack in common sense, but he makes up for in brains and vice versa. So, but Kelly is extremely bright and extremely smart. So I think she's going to do very well. So I start them off in a Becca kindergarten. That provides a really good foundation for them to read because reading is so important when it comes to school. If you're a reader, you're a leader, right? Or whatever the saying is. If you can instill a love for reading in your kids, they're going to do really well because I'm a reader and I still love to read and I still love to learn. And it's been that way my entire life. So I start them off in a Becca Video School, and then usually I segue them into ACE by the time they're in 3rd grade. So I'll do kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade. The curriculum is also a bit cheaper at those ages. It doesn't start getting expensive till about junior high. It gets really, really expensive. It's doable. It's still a bit pricey. It's $75 or $85 the last time I looked, which was a few years ago. So it might even be more than that. It's about $100 a month for 9 months. And that includes all the materials and the streaming and all that. To me, it's worth it. $25 a week, it's worth it for me because it provides such a good education. And it's literally, you stream their lessons. They have a teacher who's teaching them. You just oversee everything. So you're overseeing their writing, their seat work, all of that. And then they have an appendix in the back of the handbook where you can provide extra things, but I don't normally do that. I will pick and choose sometimes because it's a lot. And I want my kids to do school and then be done with school. I don't want them spending 6-7 hours doing school, especially kindergartner. At a kindergarten stage, it takes about 2 or 3 hours, which is good. Even when I did ACE though, I did do ACE with my 3 older kids in kindergarten, I believe. I was very consistent and it took about 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. And that's about as much as a kindergartner can handle. But I was consistent every day. You have to do it every day because it all builds on each other. It's a lot of repetition, going through the letters, going through the songs with ACE and different things like that. So, hi, Ashley. So that's what I do. And then I do segue them into ACE, like I said, by 3rd grade. Now with Kelly, I think I'm just going to keep, as long as I can afford it, I think I'm going to keep going with her. And we might make it through all of it. I don't know. Because she is so smart, I want to make sure that she's getting her little head filled with all the knowledge that she can get it filled with. Not to say, I'm going to say ACE gets a bad rap. And I'm just going to tell you right now, my kids have done great with ACE. My 3 older kids are very successful in anything that they do. They've been successful in their college courses. My son did, both of them have done career diplomas, passed, no problem. My son did Bible college, and so yeah, my son went through Bible college, and he did great, passed his, was able to write papers, do all that. Jason's in college right now for electrician school, doing great. Abigail is teaching piano, just running her part of the studio. And then also at the daycare that she works at, and she's doing great. So all of them are very successful. I think ACE gets a bad rap, and I think it's because of parents who just don't do school with their kids. If you don't do school with your kids, then they're not going to learn anything. That's just the fact of it. So I spent a lot talking about that, but I'm very passionate about making sure your kids are doing school. I'm very passionate about having structure and routine because kids crave that. And honestly, if I didn't do school every day and I was still trying to run a piano studio and do all the things I do, my house would be chaos. So I have to have the structure where they know what's expected of them and they sit down and they do it and the house is peaceful. I have to have that for everything that I do. So that's just something I'm passionate about. The core fundamentals, though, you really need to make sure if you're going to choose another curriculum, whether that's Robinson curriculum, whether that's Bob Jones, whether that's Landmark, whatever curriculum. I think my best friend does Landmark school with her kids. You have to make sure that they're good in the fundamentals, make sure that they know basic math, make sure that their grammar is decent. My kids are terrible spellers until they're in their teens, I feel like, but make sure that they they know how to communicate with others. They know how to write and, whatever that is. So make sure that you're getting those core fundamentals in there, and then just be consistent. What are some different struggles some of my kids have had? Well, Abigail, after teaching Tommy and Jason to read, it really took Abby a long time for it to click. And I remember being so frustrated and just thinking, I don't like what worked for the boys is not working for Abby. Like, what am I going to do? I was beside myself. I'd be crying because, of course, like if I don't get this in my 4.5-year-old's head, it's, oh my word. I was so high strung when I had little kids. I'm the worst mother ever. I'm terrible. And I remember being in tears one day when my husband got home, and I'm like, she's just not getting it. It's not clicking, probably because she was only 4.5, but I digress. I've learned a lot from when I was a young mom. So I remember him coming home and he was just like, okay, he's like, let me just go find something for her. So I think he took her and they went somewhere, and this is why she loves her dad so much. And they went to Walmart and he picked up some of those cheapo, like $3.50 workbooks for reading, like letters and reading and all that. And he was like, start this with her. And I'm like, the other stuff isn't working. AC isn't working. Why would this work? Whatever. Well, she started doing those workbooks and it clicked. Like it finally clicked. And I feel like for every kid learning to read, there's this magical moment when everything clicks. And it took those cheap workbooks from Walmart to click in her brain. And then from then on, it's been fine, and since she had a good foundation, once she learned to read, if they have a good foundation of reading, whatever curriculum they do, it's going to come easy for them. It's like when I teach my piano students, I try telling them this every time. Note reading is so important. And I teach note reading when I teach piano. And I will tell them, listen, you can make it easier on yourself by just memorizing your notes. I said, it's like math facts. Once you memorize those math facts, you've learned them. And it makes math easy. And music is the same way. Once you memorize all of those notes on the grandstaff, and you can just look at it and know exactly what it is in the piano, it makes your life so easy. And then a lot of them have, and they've been like, oh my goodness, like their books are almost too easy for them because they know their notes so well and they're just flying through their books. And so if I could just like impart that like with the music. And then when it's the same way with reading in school, if you learn to read, it's going to make school so much easier for you. So, and I have used different curriculums as well. Chinello, I use Saxon math for my kids. So I don't do all ACE. I've done different unit studies like around the globe, around the world, whatever, where you just pick out books. If you really are into reading, there are curriculums out there that just go solely off of books that you rent from the library. So there's different curriculums that you can use based off what your kids need and what, what's good for them. So, but yeah, some of the struggles some of my kids have had, I feel like, and I'm going to talk about this when they get to middle school, which is what we're talking about. Middle school tends to be the toughest age for me. Even, I would say even more than reading, because since I've started my kids, now I struggled a little bit with the ACE. It was very painstaking, like sound these out. B, ah, ch. Okay, sound it out. B, ah, ch. Okay, sound it out and try to blend them together. B, at, b, at. What is that? Cat? It is like, no, it's not cat. It's so painstaking, and you have to have a lot of patience when teaching to read. But even more than that, I feel like middle school, when it comes to fractions and diagramming and parts of the sentence and adjectives and adverbs and conjunctions and prepositional phrases, that's all stuff that has come really easy to me. Being a writer, I've always had interest in grammar and English, and diagramming a sentence was easy because you just, mark off all the parts of the sentence and then you just put them in that little rocket ship, right? So it's always been a little easy to me. So it frustrates me when a kid's not getting that. And middle school tends to be the toughest because I feel like they're introduced to a lot of new concepts, whether that's in English or math, and they just kind of hit a wall. And I remember my husband, he was the principal of our ACE school at our old church, and he would tell me fifth grade was the absolute worst. Fifth grade was the worst for when it came to just being brain dead, is what he calls it. So it tends to be the toughest for me personally. It is a hard year of school, but just get over that hump and you're going to find out that 6th, 7th, 8th grade is going to get a lot easier. High school years have actually been some of my easiest. And it's because if they have a good foundation and if you've established good ground rules, it's not going to be a fight. School won't be a fight. They're going to know what's expected. By high school, I feel like it's like all of these elements that they've been being taught through the years just coming together, and they kind of just know what to do. If they have good reading comprehension, they'll be fine. I had amazing reading comprehension. And when I took my ACT, I did very low in math because a lot of it was algebra and stuff like that. I'm not good at algebra. But in my reading comprehension, because of that, some of my scores were like 33, 32, 31, very, very high scores for the ACT. So, and it was just, it all came down to reading comprehension. If they have good reading comprehension, that's going to be wonderful. So the beauty of homeschooling is that you do your school and you're done. So you finish your work for the day and you're done. With ACE, they have like 5 pages a day that they have to do, 5 pages a day, and they're done. And then they can go about their business. So that's what I like about not having a lot of homework. It's just you have your certain amount of pages you do and you're done. No, there's no extra work. So the curriculum that I mainly follow for my middle schoolers is the ACE. Like I said, ACE gets a bad rap, but it's there. And my daughter has talked with a lot of public school graduates, and she's constantly amazed at what they don't know. Like, they don't know what the Grand Canyon is. They don't know who the first president is. They don't know how many presidents we've had. They don't know anything that's going on in current events. And they just don't know a lot of basic things that as an American, you think everyone knows. So, and like I said, when it comes to just different jobs and things that my older kids have had after they graduate, they've all excelled very well at what they've done. So, I think the hardest part of schooling, though, for middle schoolers, I'm going to say, is definitely diagramming and fractions, at least for my kids. If you have a different experience, by all means, let me know. But obviously history, science. Now, when they get into high school, I will say I do allow my high schoolers to do open book tests when it comes to some subjects like chemistry. It's hard. There's a lot of formulas that you have to learn. And since I really don't think any of my kids have expressed a desire in being a chemist, that it's not vital that they memorize all the formulas. So I do let them take open book tests when it comes to some of the harder science, science subjects. So, and then for some of you, maybe you don't even do tests. I don't know. I've heard of homeschoolers that don't do them. I still do them. I think it's good for them to learn how to do testing, because they could end up going on to college and they're going to need to know how to take a test where maybe they've never been given one and they have no idea, because there's a certain format that tests have and different things like that. So, but yeah, I feel like the hardest part of schooling for middle schoolers is diagramming and the fractions. Science, they're just learning about animals. History, same thing. They're learning facts. So once again, if they know how to read, that's not going to be a hard part for them. Literature, they're learning reading comprehension because they're reading the story and then they have to answer. And I do literature as an elective for all of mine, probably because I'm so adamant about reading and, all that kind of stuff. So I do some electives with my high schoolers. Well, you have to have, for Illinois, in order to graduate, which Illinois, I'm going to say, is one of the best states in the union for rules. They don't have barely any rules. And I found with the more liberal states like Illinois, California, the blue states, which is stupid that we're blue and we're only blue because of Chicago. But with the blue states, I have found that they are less strict on homeschooling. With some of the red states that are more conservative in nature, they have a lot of rules. Like you have to check in, you have to have, some states you have to test your kids every year by law. Some states you have to fill out a paper and send it into your public school official saying with your intention to homeschool. It's not like that in Illinois. The only requirement is that you are capable of homeschooling, basically. And obviously I'm fully capable of homeschooling, but I do follow the guidelines for what you need to graduate in Illinois. I make sure my high schoolers have those credits. So, and they usually end up with a couple more. You can count music lessons from the time they start junior high or ninth grade. I believe you can count a half credit each year for music lessons. If they take sports, you can count a half credit for physical, like sports, different things like that. I have them take, health, music electives. There's even a soul winning elective you can do. You can do a different language. You can even use Duolingo, as long as they're doing it every day for a certain amount of time. You can count that as a language course. So there's lots of little things that you can do. You don't have to be by the book, like we are doing this set of books, in order to accomplish what they do. But if you're going to count something as an elective, like music, make sure they're actually doing it. Make sure they're using it. Make sure they're doing it in church. Make sure they're practicing. I remember when my mom counted it for me for high school, she made me write down, every time I would practice, I had to practice 30 minutes every school day in each instrument. So one time I was taking voice, piano, and flute. I had to do an hour and a half per day of each instrument. And then that was able to be counted towards my elective. And then I had a certain amount of performances every year I did. So she was pretty strict about that. And I agree too. I don't think you should just try to cheat the system and then your kid's not getting a good education. But something like music, they're going to be able to use for the rest of their life. I mean, I use it every single day of my life. So that's something to be, careful about. Yeah, that goes for saying middle school is different for everyone. Yeah, just like high school is different for everyone. Kindergarten is different for everyone. I'm just kind of going over from my point of view as a homeschool mom with kids. So this is kind of what I've done. So let's talk about the middle school attitude though, because there is such a thing. At this age, from 5 and up, they are just now discovering that mom and dad aren't perfect. Mom and dad didn't hang the moon. Mom and dad have flaws. So they need love and assurance they need love and assurance at this age, but they also still need correction. And middle schoolers need quite a bit of correction. I feel like if you have your child's heart, if you really have instilled certain principles into their heart, I'm not talking about them just knowing facts. I'm not talking about them being able to recite the family rules. I'm talking about really having their heart as a parent, what does that mean? What does that look like? So when you have your child's heart, they care about how they make you feel. they worry, not worry needlessly, but they don't want to disappoint you because they love you and they know that you love them. They are not trying to sneak around your rules. They're not trying to just get away with things. And the only thing they're scared of is being caught. No, they don't do things because they know that if you found out, you'd be devastated. You'd be disappointed or whatever. So that's what having their heart is, where they care about your opinion. They care about how you feel. They want to please you and they want to please the Lord. And, they think about that before doing things. So middle school is just coming into, I think middle school for me, this is what I found. By the time they get about 15 or 16, they've kind of figured out that they can't, like, what they can and what they can't get away with. And for me, it's just not worth it for my kids. They just don't really sass that much by that age. But from about, like, I would say 8 or 9 to about 13 or 14 is the sassiest time for my kids. Like, that's, in my experience, that's been when they've been the most sassy. And I don't know if it's like just a disconnect between, I don't know what it is, but that's like, when it comes to sass, that's the worst time for me. So tell me in the chat if that's different. If that's different for any of you, let me know what you think. If you raise kids to adults, like what the sassiest age is. But for me, middle school, it is. Give junior hires a break because their minds are exploding at this time. There have literally been studies done about junior hires where their brains literally have gray matter in them, and they're literally almost brain dead at that age. So look it up. Look up the studies that have been done on junior hires and you'll see what I mean, but it's a real thing. Sass for me, for my kids, is at an all-time high, and fighting with siblings is at an all-time high. You're going to be like, well, what have I done wrong? Like, why does my kid hate everyone? And it's a hard time of age because they're still a kid. They're not a teenager yet. They don't get the respect that a teenager gets. They don't get to do the things that a teenager gets. Especially, I've noticed it's harder for my kids who have older siblings. Okay, so that's harder. Like, when they have older siblings, it's harder on them because they don't get to do everything that their older siblings do. And it kind of drives them crazy. And because of that, they kind of take it out on them. And then it's the pre-puberty age. Derek agrees with me. It's the pre-puberty age. And so everything is just going crazy. Like, they're trying to figure out why am I doing this? Why is my body doing that? What's going on? And it's just a confusing time. So, and they're still a kid, but they're having some changes start to happen. And in American culture, it's earlier and earlier just because of all the stuff that they put in our food. It's really bad, like all the stuff that they put into our food. And then it's just coming out as kids grow older, they're getting older younger. That makes sense. But so what are some ways that you can help? Yep, Charlene, it's the age. She said, mine is 9 and definitely getting harder, very strong-willed. So finding balance can be hard sometimes. And it is because they're so insecure still at this age. So they're so insecure and they need your love and assurance, and they need to know that you aren't just being annoyed by them 24/7, but sometimes they're kind of annoying 24/7. So they just are. They need 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I would say for me, like raising kids, I've told my friends before, that's one of the hardest ages for me personally. Maybe you've had a different experience, but by the time my kids get teenagers, it really evens out. By the time puberty actually starts, it helps even out their hormones a little bit. They're not brain dead anymore. The gray matter is finally turning into something. So they're actually, I don't know. I just feel easier. And I've not had a rebellious teen yet. So maybe if I had a rebellious teen, it would be worse, but 9, 10, 11, 12, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seem to be the hardest age. So just hang in there, get them through 5th grade, get them through that year. It does get better and easier, I think. So yeah, what are some ways that you can help your middle school? Well, your middle schooler right now, they can need consistency in their life. They need mom to be mom, dad to be dad. They need you to be on the same page when it comes to raising them. They need you to support each other in the decisions when it comes to raising them. They need you to be united. Judge each situation as it comes, and it's going to vary because moods are going to be up and down. Like I said, they're starting to change, especially around the ages of 10, 11, 12. Puberty is happening earlier and earlier. So they're going to be kind of up and down and all over. You're not going to know what to expect. So judge each situation as it happens. Stay in church. That's so important. This is from the time I've often said, when it comes to just being planted in a church, like get in a church and be planted. Kids can usually handle like one big move. Okay. So because our church is so rare, we are a little bit different in our church than a lot of other IFB churches. And some people would say we aren't even IFB, but we are. We're IFB. And we're family integrated. We have different views on eschatology. I'm trying to think of some other differences. But because we're different, people that are like-minded often will move here. And my husband often tells them, your kids they'll be gracious with you for one big move. But after you make that big move, you need to get firmly grounded in whatever church that you move to. And I found, especially after the age of 8, that moves are very difficult because your kid goes into a church. He doesn't have the problems that you do with other people. He accepts people for who they are. Kids are very accepting and very loving. They don't usually start developing grudges with others. And so you move into a church, they develop very fast friendships and they become very close to the ones that they develop friendships with. So then you tear them away from that. But 8, 9, 10, that's going to be something that's imprinted on their memory forever. So I'm begging people, even if your church is not perfect, even if your church isn't like ours and they're not family integrated and there's some stupid stuff that you have to put up with, get into a church. It's going to be so much better for your kids just to be established in a church where you stay and you develop roots and you develop friendships and you don't talk bad about everyone in the church. You're not constantly fighting with everyone in the church. You're not constantly gossiping about everyone in the church, and you just get planted. That's going to help your middle schoolers, your young teenagers, your teenagers so much if you're just consistent and planted and you stay in church. Deal with their problems in-house. Okay. So if you see something pop up, and you're going to, especially with middle schoolers, don't deal with the problems of their friends. You don't need to talk about their shortcomings in their friends. You don't need, oftentimes if my kid's complaining about something and I will tell them they do it that way in their house, we do it this way in ours. Okay. We're not in charge of what they decide. We're not in charge of what they do. We're in charge of what we do. Okay. So I will not go up to a mom, like, there's going to be spats that happen. I'm just going to say that, like in middle schoolers, especially, like friendship fights, they're going to be a lot. So if I see pettiness or selfishness or bullying coming from my daughter, I will deal with that. I'm not going to go up to another girl and try dealing with that. I'm not going to go up to another person of a different family and try dealing with that. That's not my place. I'm overstepping my boundaries. My problem is my kids, not the other kids in the church. So if an altercation happens between another kid and my kid, I will go directly to the mom of that kid. I'm not going to accost that kid or go after that kid or deal with that kid's problems. And there's been situations that have happened and I've had to go to the parent and then the parent deals with it. I don't need to be dealing with that. Not my circus, not my monkeys, not my problem. So I've taught my girls that, you're going to have friendship spats and you need to figure out how to work it out, because your entire life, you're going to deal with people who don't agree with you or people who you argue with, and you need to figure out how to deal with those things. And they're going to happen, especially if they're a girl. Boys, they can like punch each other and then kind of get over it. But girls are really petty. And you'll find that girls can hold a grudge for like weeks. So teach your kids that the silent treatment is wrong. I think that's one of the worst things you can do as a person, because you're basically pretending that another person doesn't exist is what the silent treatment is. And I think it's petty, and I think it's stupid, and it's triggering to me in ways because of situations in the past that have happened. And I've refused. I've never once given my husband the silent treatment. I've never once given my kids the silent treatment. I've never once given my friends the silent treatment. I think it's one of the worst things you can do as a person. So that's just my opinion on it. I hate the silent treatment. I think it's so passive aggressive, and it's so wrong to do to another person, because we are all here. We all do exist. And me being mad at you doesn't make you not exist anymore. So I've taught my kids that watch their interactions closely and make sure you deal with problems as they arise. Once bitterness starts taking a hold of their heart, it's going to be a lot harder to work out the problems between that pop up between their friends. And it's true for adult relationships too. Once bitterness takes root, it's really, really hard to get rid of. Now, one thing I've tried to show my kids, and, obviously they're not quite there because this is something that happens with maturity. I'm going to be very honest. One of my biggest fears growing up, I always tried to please my authority in my life. And I was one that I went above and beyond. I was the teacher's pet. So I was always going above and beyond to do my very best on whatever work I did. And I wanted the authority in my life to be pretty pleased to me. One of my biggest fears was that my reputation would be trashed. And when my husband decided to publicly state his beliefs, which are different from a lot of IFB, our reputation was trashed. And rumors, there's still rumors out there. You can't chase down every rumor. It's impossible. Horrible things have been said about us and our family. And all of my fears basically came to light. Like, I never knew when I was growing up that I would be able to deal with the stuff I've dealt with, the stuff that's been said about us, because words hurt and words are powerful. And because of the things said to us, I'm very careful with my words when it comes to interactions with other people, because words are very powerful, and words have a way of tearing someone down or lifting someone up. And so I've tried to teach my kids that words are hurtful. That being said, I've also tried to show them how we need to be unoffendable. And because of things that we have been through in our personal life, as far as people turning on us and things that they've said, I'm basically unoffendable. So people can be honest with me about things. And first of all, even if I do have my feelings hurt about it at first, I will talk to you about it. I won't just let that fester. I will talk to you about it. And then once we work it out, I move on. I put it out of my head. I don't bring that back to remembrance again. Forgiveness, apology, accepted, move on. Because I am a church planner and I have a church planner's heart. I just want everyone to get along, and I just want to serve the Lord in unity with my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ. That is my heart. And that's what I'm trying to teach my kids. So I'm trying to teach them how to be unoffendable. Okay, someone was having a bad day and they made a snarky comment to you. I know it's stupid. It hurts. Just chalk it up to they were having a bad day and move on. Just give them grace. It's okay. You're going to have a bad day someday and you're going to do it. So, if you want people to forgive you, you need to forgive other people. And with middle schoolers, they're going to see more by what you do rather than what you just tell them. And they're at an age where they're soaking everything up, and they're going to start imitating what they're seeing. So if you want your kid not to be bullied, you don't need to be bullying other people. If you want your kid to be careful with their words, you need to be careful with your words. You need to be kind. You need to be sweet. You need to be tolerant. You need to extend grace to others. If it was easy to get along as a Christian, there wouldn't be so many verses in the Bible encouraging us to get along. Paul wrote about it over and over and over in his letters to the churches about how you need to just have, bowels of mercy or compassion or whatever that verse is. It's hard to get along with people. It's hard to be forgiving. It's hard to be unoffendable. But I've told many, many people often, I'm very honest. I'm very blunt. So I just kind of expect that from everyone. And I laugh sometimes at what people think I'm going to be offended by. And I'm like, I'm literally not offendable. So just I want your honesty. I want you to be open with me. Don't tell me one thing and then go say something else behind my back. I just want you to be open with me. And that's how I'm trying to raise my kids. So, um, yeah, help them navigate friendships by showing them healthy friendships. Show them that you can have a disagreement with someone and then get over it and forgive them. Don't talk about it anymore, move on. So, okay, so this is a super awkward stage. Middle school to like early teenage years is a super awkward stage. So build them up, but be careful about being too critical. They're going to take everything to heart. They're going to remember it. I remember stuff from when I was 8, 9, 10 that was said to me, whether that was by the authority in my life, whether that was by my friends. I remember things. So they're going to remember it. Even though they might be a prickly pear, which they are a lot at this age, they still need your love and acceptance. So you still need to hug them. You still need, Lana's 10 and she loves cuddling with me still. She loves wrapping her arms around me and giving me a hug. And so she's just if that's an awkward age, like right before they go through puberty, and they're still such a little kid, but they want like the respect that your older kids get, but they're not really there yet. So one-on-one time is very important during this age. I try to make a point to rotate kids when it comes to grocery shopping trips, because then we usually do something special. I'll get them Starbucks, or we'll go out to eat or grab a bite to eat, something like that, or get them candy at the store. And then we just have that whole 2 hours to talk with each other. And, I have never had a kid be grouchy. When I take them on the one-to-one trips, I've never had one be grouchy. They love it. They soak it up, especially when you have a lot of kids. That is very important to them. I'm like looking at the terms of music. I don't even know what's on the backboard. That's part of this video the whole time. Teach them to talk out their problems with you. So definitely encourage talking, but then when they do tell you about a problem, don't freak out about it. You have to be temperate when dealing. You have to be non-dramatic. My kids say I'm dramatic, whatever. I'm not even that dramatic, but they swear I am. I just have a big personality. We'll just say that. I have a big personality, so I feel things very deeply. So if I'm happy, I'm happy. If I'm upset, I'm upset, so, but I've tried to teach my kids that they can talk to me about things. Little problems at this age will become bigger problems as they get older. So what are some ways that you can hurt your middle schooler? I think the worst is being too critical. And I think that's the case with all of our kids, actually, just never being enough, constantly belittling them. Of course, their efforts at 9, 10, 11 are not going to be as good as your efforts at 30, 35, 40. Obviously not. Don't hold them to a 35-year-old standard. And I see parents do this a lot, and it's not right. So being too critical definitely is the number one thing that can hurt your kid. Not letting them be a kid. Just please, I beg of you that have, especially daughters, let your daughters be young. Allie, and I was saying this earlier in the live stream for members only, Allison is turning 14 tomorrow. And where so many 14-year-olds are all about Taylor Swift and Stanley Cups and getting a mani-pedi and going to Starbucks, she's not like that at all. She is very much a young girl at heart. She asked for keychains, and what else did she ask for? Jewelry and a yoga mat, because she likes doing gymnastic type things. She's taught herself that. Just very, very young girlish stuff, and I don't deal with her being boy crazy. I don't deal with any of that because I've taught my daughters to enjoy their childhood. We don't do young dating. And when I talk about this next week, I'm going to mention the dating and how we do things. You don't have to do things the way we do. I'm just telling you, this is my channel. So I'm just telling you how we've done things and how it's working out really well so far. So if it ain't broken, we're not going to fix it because it's working out really well. Yeah. my oldest kids they're basically accomplishing all the dreams I had for them, basically. So I'll touch on that, but please don't push your kids into relationships. Girls, especially when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's so detrimental to just the way that they're developing and their mindset, and let them be a kid. Responsibility comes soon enough. Let them be a kid. Let them enjoy their hobbies that they have. They don't need to be wrapped up in another boy. And I've seen it over and over and over again. And this is why we have the 18-year-old dating rule with our kids, because we were youth leaders for a long time, like 12 years, 11 or 12 years before we started the church. So we saw a whole cycle of teenagers go through. And one thing that just zapped, first of all, the mood of a teenager was dealing with relationship problems. And we watched, they were not able to enjoy church. They were not able to enjoy teen activities because they were so worried what their significant other was thinking about them, what they were doing. And then when there was a drama or a fight, oh my goodness, the whole world had ended. So they spent all of their teenage years, instead of just serving the Lord with passion and zeal and just getting involved in their church and all the ministries that single people can do, they spent it just so wrapped up in that relationship with the opposite sex. And it's just not healthy. It's not healthy because their minds are still developing as they're teenagers. They don't know what they want in a future spouse. And so if anyone expresses interest in them, it's just like, ooh la la, the thrill of it and the excitement of it. And then they're just wasting valuable time where they could be enjoying their family, enjoying their siblings, enjoying their friends, but they're so worried about what a boy thinks about them. So please don't push your 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Don't push them into a relationship. They're not ready for that at that age. They're not mature enough to handle it. I want my kids to date with the intention of marriage. So when they get old enough, if they start a relationship, I want that to be the intention. And they're not old enough to get married at 14, 15, 16. They're not old enough at that point. So we wait until their minds have matured, until they kind of know what they're looking for in a future spouse. And then if they start a relationship, that is the end goal. Yes, Chanello, Allison is exactly the same. She loves princesses and unicorns. And yes, and I love it. I love that she is that way. So yes, giving them a phone too early, and that might step on some toes. How we've done it in our house, and this doesn't have to be the golden rule for everyone. You figure out what works best for you. Our kids don't get their official first phone until they're driving. So once they get their driver's license and they're going to be out and about, I like having Life 360 on there. You know, Abby and Chloe both have it on there. I'm able to see where they're at. They're able to see where I'm at. And they need a phone for emergencies. So basically, when they get their driver's license, they get their first phone. When I had boys, I did take their phones at night when we had Wi-Fi capabilities. I've kind of like lessened as my kids get older. I'll just tell them, like, I don't, Chloe, get off your phone, and she gets off her phone. It's problem solved. I found that the more kids I have, as long as you have their heart, you don't have to be like militant when it comes to rules if you have their heart. Now, you might have a kid that, hurts the trust that you have in them, and then you might have to have more rules. Rules are there because of lawbreakers, basically. But we have, since the time our kids were little, we've taught them the dangers of pornography. We've been very open about how that will warp your mind, that will mess you up, that will affect future relationships. It will completely change the way you think. So we've been very open with them, the dangers about that, the dangers about putting bad things before your eyes. And then we feel by the time they're 16, they are capable and ready to handle that responsibility, because it is a responsibility having a cell phone. It's a responsibility even for an adult having a cell phone. You have to be responsible. You have to know that you have to determine, I'm not going to put certain things before my eyes. I'm not going to look up certain things. I'm not going to go looking for things on the internet. So even as an adult, you have to be responsible when it comes to that. So that's funny, Derek. His 8-year-old daughter told him she's going to marry a rich man. Good luck with that. So she knows what she wants at 8. That's funny. But yeah, and then another way that you can hurt your middle schooler is allowing them to watch every bit of foolishness on YouTube or Prime. See, we don't have regular We have a TV in our home. We don't have regular cable though, but we do have apps on it, right? Anyone that has a smart TV has apps. So that could be linked to your YouTube, Prime. I think we have those too. It can be linked to that. But if you're allowing them to watch every influencer on YouTube, they're going to start picking up on new influencer traits. They're going to want the newest thing at Sephora, like what is it, wild elephant or something, mad elephant. There's some I guess it went viral and like all these 9, 10, 11-year-old girls were buying out this brand from Sephora. See, I didn't even know anything about this. My older kids told me about it. And everyone is getting mad because they're like, what does a 9-year-old need like anti-aging serum for or whatever? And it's like all these things that like 20, 30, 40-year-olds need. And these 8, 9, 10-year-old girls are buying them out and then doing like, get ready with me, GRWM videos. And like where they have like the get ready with me headband and they're putting the serum on their face. And, be careful letting your daughter watch a lot of those because she's going to start picking up on those things and think that she needs the wild elephant or mad cow disease. I don't know what it was. Whatever it was, this brand name at Sephora, she's going to think she needs it. So Abby jokes around that she had Lana go fill her Stanley up that my son bought for Abby. She had her go fill it up with water and she came in and she had like these eye masks on and she was carrying the Stanley with like a get ready for me headband. And Abby taped her coming in. She's like, she's already a Sephora girl, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, they will pick up on everything that they watch. So another way that you can hurt them is expecting them to act like an adult. A 9-year-old is not a 30-year-old. So I've seen parents put completely ridiculous and unrealistic expectations on their 9-year-old. Just let them be a kid. They're only going to be a kid once. Let them mess up and don't hang it over their head forever. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to say stupid things. And then you're going to feel like the worst failure of a parent. We all have those times, but don't just expect them to be good and perform to make you look good, because that's where a lot of parents trip up. They put these so over the top, unrealistic expectations on their kids, and they don't allow their kids to be kids. And then their kids grow up resenting them for it. So, and it's all comes down to, I made my mom look bad when I did this. That shouldn't be like your main thought. When your kid messes up, it shouldn't be like, oh my goodness, now everyone thinks I'm a terrible mother. No, it should be, okay, why did they mess up in this area? Is this going to affect their future life? As an adult, what do I need to do to correct this? And, if you see them veering off the path of they're not wanting to please the Lord, that could be where there's the red flag issue, not, oh my goodness, it made me look bad. We need to put that all aside as parents because kids are going to humble us, honestly. So, another way that you can hurt them is by letting selfishness and bullying slide. I feel like at this age, it needs to be nipped in the bud because 9-year-olds can honestly be very cruel to other 9-year-olds. And bullying is one thing I don't want to see coming from my kids. And also too, though, I will say, if you're not in the ministry, stop trying to be a vulture and look for all sorts of weaknesses in the pastor's kids, because I'm just going to let you know, my kids have weaknesses. I'm going to let you know that my 10-year-old is going to act up sometimes and she's going to say some stupid things sometimes, and I'm going to deal with it. Okay. I'm going to deal with it. If I see bullying, I'm going to deal with it. If I see her being mean, I'm going to deal with it. But you don't need to be waiting and just like waiting to swoop down and be like, oh my goodness, the pastor's kids messed up. That's such a horrible attitude to have. It's rotten. And if that affects the church, it's just a horrible spirit. So please don't put it like that with any other kids. I feel like some parents like to see flaws in other kids mess up to make them feel better about their parenting. And once again, that's just a pride issue. All pride goes out the window when it comes to raising kids, and just get rid of your pride. Why are you trying to raise your kids? To make you look good or to glorify God and bring him honor? You've got to think of that. Just let go of the pride. Another way, 2 more things that you can hurt your middle schooler: not having clear-cut boundaries, not having clear-cut rules to where they're confused and they don't know what to expect. And one day you're expecting them to be this way, and then the next day you have no expectations and anything goes. So, we in the McMurtry home, we have some clear-cut things like, you don't do this, you do this, very clear-cut. The kids know what to expect. It's not this surprise. Like, I'm not saying, okay, bullying is great one day, and the next day being like, you don't ever say mean things to kids. That is never acceptable. No, it's always just been a rule. Like, don't bully other kids. Don't bully people. Don't be a bully. If someone's bullying you, you can tell them to stop. Those have always been clear cut rules. So, and then not Chanello, you can tell that you're a pastor's wife and that you're raising kids in church. And it's one thing my husband has always tried to do in our church. He's been like, he's been in the ministry his entire life. And it was almost like some people were like wringing their hands and like salivating, just waiting for the pastor's kids to mess up. And when they did, they were going to go running to his dad and being like, your kid did this. And that did happen. And it's really a bad attitude to have. Don't be like that with the pastor's kids, and don't be like that with any other kids. Just stop. It's so horrible. Just stop. And then the last thing, not having clear-cut boundaries or not giving them expectations to live up to. My husband will often say, you're a McMurtry, we don't do this. Or you're a McMurtry, we do this. One example, having dogs. We're a McMurtry, we don't have a dog. Now, my son ruined that because he's a McMurtry too, and he got a dog as soon as he got married. So, and that was probably from growing up in our house where a dog was never allowed, but I digress. So, but that's just a silly example. There are other things. You're a McMurtry, we're in church every time the doors are open. No excuses unless you're puking or unless you can't get out of the bed because of a raging fever. We're in church. You're a McMurtry, we pay our bills on time. You're a McMurtry, we don't treat people this way. You're a McMurtry, you know what? You can get over it when people treat you this way. It's a McMurtry thing. So we do give our kids expectations. We want them to act a certain way, and we want them to be a certain way, but they're going to mess up. We mess up on the daily. So why wouldn't our kids mess up? So give your kids a little bit of grace. Give other people's kids some grace. You don't know the kind of day that they had. You don't know what they're going through. So you don't need to be nitpicky about them. You don't want people being nitpicky about you. So don't be nitpicky about other people. Don't keep running lists on people of ways that they've offended you. If I get offended, which is very rare, because I've just determined I'm not going to be offended. I don't care I'm not going to be offended. So if I get offended, which is rare, I will either, if it's really bothering me, I will go directly to that person. And I'll say, listen, this hurt my feelings. And I'm very open with my friends about this. This hurt my feelings. Can we talk about it? We usually talk it out. And I would suggest phone calls or in person, not through texting. That's one thing I've learned over the last few years. Don't text things because they have a potential of blowing up. Only in person or only over a phone call. So I'll call them up or, hey, can I talk with you for a second? And then if something's really bothering me, we'll talk it out. And then I take it out of my mind and I throw it away. And I don't bring that up again. And you should be the same way with your spouse. You should be the same way with your kids. So it's just a better way to live your life. Are you going to want to be one of these people that just is so easily to offend and people have to walk around on eggshells, because, oh no, if I say this, she might get upset, or, you're difficult to live with and you're always like on edge. Like if I offended this person, I don't want to be that way. I want people to know that they can come to me with issues. They can come to me with problems. They can be open with me. Some of the worst problems that we've had in our ministry, some of the worst problems we've had in our home are offenses that happened that we had no clue about. And they just built and built and built. And the person that we offended was talking to everyone else in the church but us. And then by the time we were able to deal with it, it was like when you take feathers and you throw them in the wind, and then you're told to go gather up the feathers. It's impossible at that point because too many people have been told, too many people have started looking at you differently, and it's just, words are so powerful. And be careful. If you have a problem with someone, go to them directly, talk to them. I teach my kids that way. If you have a problem with someone, go to them. Don't talk about them behind your back. Don't talk about them with other people. And you lead by example. So your kids are going to mimic relationships, friendships, even your marriage. They're going to try to mimic what they see more than what they're told. So anyways, middle schoolers can be a hard age. I wish you all the patience. I wish you all of the grace. I wish you all of the whatever forbearance that you can have during this age, and hang in there. It does get better. I have enjoyed every age, and middle schoolers have their perks too. You know, they are soaking everything up like a sponge. But their brain is changing rapidly. So just remember that whenever your middle schooler starts being incredibly annoying or incredibly sassy, I'm telling you, the sass will level off. At least in my opinion, with my kids, it's leveled off. Okay. It will level off by the time they're 15, 14, 15, 16. It usually tends to level off. So then they become a little bit wiser with their tongue. And there's so many Bible verses that talks about the tongue. Like if you can control the tongue, basically you can control your whole body, because who can tame the tongue, right? So the tongue is very little, but full of poison at times. So we have to really teach our kids to watch that tongue. So I hope you, amen, Chanello, and the long suffering. I hope you all have a great week. Go ahead and like this video. We got up to, oh, there's a thumbs up. Yep. Like this video. Share it if it's been a help. If you are not a member, look into becoming a member. If you want to get the weekly lives before the lives, that'll be directed. I'm a little more candid and a little more open in those, because those of you that are supporting this channel, what is it? With your money, I'll just put it that way. Those of you that are supporting this channel with your money, you're probably not going to be a hater. So I'm going to be a little bit more open in those lives. So anyways, I will talk to you all later, and I hope you have a great week. Now I got to figure out how to end this. Let me see. That was the wrong thing. How do I end? Let me see. Stop video? No, that's not it. I don't know how to end this. I'm doing this for my iPad. So, oh, stop live stream. Here we go. Okay. I figured it out. Bye, guys.